Hyoga of Cygnus represents the pinnacle of power among the Ice Knights. But since the Lost Eras, there have been legendary knights who used freezing aura to fight, even possessing the power to freeze a god. Hello knights and amazons, how are you all doing? Welcome to another video here on the Sempre Quis Saber channel. I'm Wesley, and in today's video we're going to meet the 4 legendary Ice Knights from Knights of the Zodiac. Did you like the topic? So go ahead and click like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. Sempre Quis Saber. Unlike warriors who fight by destroying atoms, the essence of the Ice Warrior's combat is to paralyze atomic movement. Absolute zero is the point where all atomic motion completely stops. In the universe of the series, only by reaching this miraculous temperature through the 7th sense is it possible to freeze and destroy a gold armor. Bronze armors freeze at minus 150 degrees, and silver ones at minus 200 degrees. But gold armors require supreme mastery of cold air to be frozen. This level of power is the relentless pursuit of every knight who inherits the ice techniques. And now I'm going to introduce 4 of these legendary knights to you. Knight number 1, Crest of Aquarius. Just like the old master Libra Doko, who was a knight capable of living for centuries, Crest of Aquarius had already achieved this feat in the past. Crest is an incredible character introduced in the series The Lost Canvas, being featured more prominently in the chapters of the Guidance Saga. He was the Gold Knight of Aquarius in the 13th century 3 Holy Wars before the classic saga of Seiya and his friends. He became a Gold Knight at just 13 years old and fought in the Holy War of the 13th century alongside Athena, and due to his monstrous power and purity of ideals, he received from the goddess herself the secret technique of Misopetha Menos, the same technique that stops aging and keeps the heart beating 100,000 times a year, the equivalent of how many times it should beat in a single day. And with that, Kurasuto lived for more than 500 years acting as a lone knight who survived through the ages, witnessing countless losses and battles against Hades, Ares, and Poseidon. And with the weight of half a millennium of bloodshed on his shoulders, Kurasuto began to question whether humanity and the knights would ever achieve true peace, after sacrificing generations and generations of young warriors. Thus, it is revealed in the Gaiden, focused on Dejal of Aquarius, who was his disciple, that Kurasuto deserted. He took on a youthful appearance thanks to Villain Garnet, since he no longer possessed the Misopetha Menos. After using the technique in the Holy War of the 16th century, Kurasuto, now in the 18th century, adopted the name Koinor, making reference to one of the most famous diamonds in the world. He took on this villain role to test his disciple, Dejal of Aquarius, wanting to find out if the new generation had the strength and determination needed to protect the Earth and break the cycle of suffering, being the legendary Aquarius Saint. During the 13th to 16th centuries, besides the classic Diamond Dust, Kurasuto had other attacks, like the Diamond Dust Blast, a variation where he uses several ice crystals to increase his power and hit the opponent more than once with the same attack. Another incredible technique was the Ice Shield, a defense based on absolute zero, considered an almost impenetrable barrier at the time. He also masters the Aurora Execution, Ice Coffin, Ice Ring, and Great Ice Ring in addition to these abilities. Crest ends up dying after a spectacular battle against Dejal, passing on his legacy. Knight number 2, Dejal of Aquarius. In the 18th century of the Lost Canvas era, we have the direct disciple of Crest, who is Dejal of Aquarius. Dejal was the brightest mind in the sanctuary. Besides being an absurdly powerful warrior, he was known as the most intelligent man in the entire sanctuary of his generation. Possessing the knowledge of various sacred books, he was so respected that he was the only knight, besides the Grand Master, capable of reading the stars to predict the future of the Holy War. He had a beautiful friendship with Cardia of Scorpio. Cardia suffered from a heart disease that made his heart overheat to lethal levels, and it was the cold and comforting air of Dejal that was able to stabilize his friend's cosmic fever. It was Dejal of Aquarius who was responsible for some of the greatest feats of control over Ice Cosmo in history. During the Holy War against Hades, Athena sends Dejal, accompanied by Cardia, to the frozen lands of Blue Bluegrad, his homeland. Their mission was to find the Orichalcum, the inheritance of the god of the seas, Poseidon, hidden in the submerged city of Atlantis. There, Dejal reunites with his childhood friend, Unity. However, Unity fakes his own death and reappears as a marine general of Poseidon. To make matters worse, Unity's sister, Seraphina, dies, and her body ends up being used as a vessel for the soul of Poseidon. When the unrestrained power of the god of the seas awakens in Seraphina's body, the power of Poseidon's cosmo, Poseidon would destroy everything around him. In an act of pure sacrifice and mastery of the ice cosmos, Dejal surpasses all his limits. He uses his seventh sense raised to the absolute maximum and creates a gigantic ice coffin. Dejal generated such a monumental coldness that his ice coffin froze the entire immense underwater capital of Atlantis, together with the divine power of Poseidon, trapping the fury of the god of the seas. He died, but saved the world. And his techniques included the supreme Aurora execution. Besides the ice shield, the diamond dust, the zero diamond dust, the ice coffin, the ice ring, and the great ice ring. Night number 3, Master Crystal. In the classic anime's 20th century setting, we have the Crystal Knight. In the original manga work written by Masami Kurumada, the master of Hyoga was always Camus Kamo Jaquario, where his training took place directly on the Siberian glaciers. However, when Toei Animation started producing the classic anime, the adaptation caught up with the weekly manga chapters very quickly. At that time, Kurumada had not yet revealed to the readers who Hyoga's master was, or even the appearance of the Aquarius Gold Saint. In order not to stop the anime, Toei had to create new stories and characters, the famous fillers. And so they invented the Crystal Saint to fill that gap in Cygnus' story. And the most impressive thing is that this character turned out amazing and won over many fans. The Crystal Saint was known for his great kindness and sense of justice. He trained not only Hyoga, but also Isaac, teaching that the strength of the saints should only be used in the name of justice. In the anime, the classification of his armor was always a mystery, being considered a saint without a defined constellation. But he is commonly classified by fans as a silver saint. The story of the Crystal Saint has a twist. When the Grand Master, who is actually Gemini Saga in disguise, realizes the threat that the noble ice warrior represented, the Master summons Crystal to the sanctuary and strikes him with the terrible Imperial Satan technique. This diabolical blow controls the target's mind, turning a kind person into a bloodthirsty demon. Completely manipulated, the Ice Master returns to Siberia. He enslaves the local population of an entire village to build a bizarre ice pyramid in honor of the Grand Master. This forces Hyoga to fight against the knight who was like a father figure to him. At the climax of the battle, Hyoga lands a fatal blow. Only at the brink of death does the Imperial Satan's spell break. The Crystal Saint regains consciousness. He cries with pride at his student's strength and asks for forgiveness, teaching one last lesson about courage before dying in Hyoga's arms. To fix the timeline, when the manga revealed Camus, this is what we'd call a retcon. It was established that Camus was the master of the Crystal Knight, and so Camus became the master of Hyoga's master in the anime. Among the Crystal Knight's techniques, besides Diamond Dust, the freezing attack stands out, where he would freeze the opponent's legs, completely paralyzing their movements and opening their guard for the final attack. He is considered a legendary Ice Knight by all the fans. Knight number 4, Hyoga of Aquarius. This is the blonde orphan boy who has a mix of Russian and Japanese blood and who began his journey in the dangerous eastern Siberia. Hyoga's initial motivation was incredibly sad. He just wanted to become strong enough to swim in the freezing waters without dying, break the thick ice, and visit the body of his mother, Natasha, who was preserved in the depths of the ocean after a shipwreck. Hyoga's journey in the classic story is one of painful growth to achieve strength, supreme and control over his emotions. He had to lose absolutely everyone he loved because of his own actions. He witnessed the sacrifice of his training partner, Isaac of Kraken, who lost an eye and was carried away by the currents while trying to save him. He had to kill his beloved master, the Crystal Saint in the anime. And in the Battle of the 12 Houses, he fought against Camus of Aquarius. Camus went down to the House of Libra to test him. Seeing that the student couldn't let go of the memories of his mother, Camus sank Hyoga's mother's ship. Even deeper in the depths of the ocean abyss to force this detachment, Camus traps Hyoga in the freezing coffin. However, later, after being rescued by his friends, Hyoga advances to the House of Aquarius. It's there that the greatest battle between the Ice Saints takes place. Camus demands that Hyoga reach the seventh sense and awaken Absolute Zero. The two unleash Aurora execution at the same time. Their energies collide, and Camus dies smiling, happy because his pupil had, at that very moment, he surpassed his master. Hyoga managed to freeze the gold cloth with Absolute Zero on this occasion. And in the Poseidon Saga, he defeats his old friend Isaac. In the Hades Saga, he awakens the legendary Swan God Cloth in the Elysian Fields, against the twin gods Hypnos and Thanatos. And in the official spin-off manga called Saint Seiya, Episode G Assassin, written and drawn by Megumu Okada, which features elements of time travel, multiverse, and alternate timelines, bringing gold saints from the past and from other dimensions into the future. We end up meeting Aquarius Hyoga many years in the future. Hyoga is already an adult, and he finally took on the position of gold saint. He is now Hyoga, the Aquarius saint. Besides being a saint, he has another life, breaking away from the hero stereotype, who lives only to fight in the sanctuary. The adult Hyoga became a bar owner. He uses his manipulation of temperature and ice to make and serve the best drinks. Perfectly chilled in Japan. He also adopted a little girl named Natasha. He gave her the name of his beloved and late mother, and also the same name as the Princess of Bluegrad from the classic manga. He raises the girl with all the love and protection, becoming the caring father he himself never had, closing the cycle of childhood traumas. The Hyoga from episode G Assassin has near divine power and no longer has the sentimental weakness he once did, being the relentless master of freezing air. And the most remarkable moment of this saga is when Camus of Aquarius comes back to life. He uses the Aquarius God Cloth, which was sent from another dimension. And then, after being controlled by Imperial Satan, he ends up facing Hyoga of Aquarius. However, just as Camus returned, we also have the return of Zack, who comes back from the world of the dead. He quickly puts on the swan armor and sacrifices himself to help Hyoga of Aquarius raise his Cosmo to the highest level. That being so, once again, Hyoga surpasses the freezing air of his master Camus, which was at a divine level. Did you enjoy getting to know the four most legendary Ice Knights of all time? Comment on who you think was missing from this list in your opinion. And, of course, thank you for watching until the end. See you next time. May your Cosmo burn to infinity.